wanted to make a quick video on things that you can do around the time of preparing for spring. So right now it is February. It is the beginning of February. But with that being said, there are still things that you can do at the moment to kind of help yourself for later. Or if you just want to get outside and do some things. So I will say this now that I live in Missouri. So obviously every state and every region is going to be a little different, so I recommend to look at your hardiness zone map. I know that it updated and changed a little bit, so the one that I looked at was a more recent version of it. And for Missouri, the hardiness zone is anywhere between 5B and 7ish, mostly 5B to 6B. But I'm in central Missouri, so it's mostly 5 to 6B, you know, things like that. So look at your map and it'll help you plan for how to work around the frost and the hardiness zone of planting things. I also want to say that if you are going to be outside working, especially in the early months of spring, be aware of your surroundings because a lot of things hibernate and hide under leaves and brush, shrubs, dead trees, dead logs, things like that. So wear gloves and always be prepared for what may be underneath all of that because you don't really know. That's always a good rule, anyways, when you're gardening or working with leaves or things that haven't been touched or messed with in a while, especially during that long winter month. So, anyways, a first good thing to prepare for spring is pruning. So, if you have any flowering shrubs like hydrangeas, things like that, you can definitely look into pruning them. Same thing with fruit trees. Look at your trees and decide if you want to prune them, take care of all of that. It'd be a good time to do that now, is pruning. And with seed starting, a lot of people have already started seeds. A lot of people have already jumped the gun on that. They've already had greenhouses, they have a whole indoor setup, things like that. So I'm going to list a few things that you can start to sow and get prepared for. So for flowers, things like poppies, snapdragons, and sweet peas, those things can be started outside. You can sow your seeds outside and they will be, ready for spring. If you have native seeds like milkweed, you can start those too because they are native, so they are used to what they're used to. They're native, they can handle the elements. So if you have milkweed, I'd recommend starting plants of that, like sowing it, getting it ready, because milkweed's very important and it's a very nice native plant to keep growing throughout. So when it comes to vegetables in a vegetable garden, a lot of people go ahead and sow their seeds indoors anyways in the early spring months and the early winter transition months. So if you have a seed starting tray, that would be ideal. I don't have one yet, but I'm going to get one soon. But you can start a lot of your cooler month like vegetables. For example, like kale, you can do broccoli, cauliflower, things like that. Spinach is a really good one too because spinach does not like the heat. So cooler plants, onions, things like that, you can go ahead and start indoors 8 to 10 weeks before the last frost. So you got about 8 to 10 weeks to prepare. So by the time the last frost happens, you'll already have some starts and you'll already have some sprouts and you'll have stuff prepared. So when the last frost happens, you can just go ahead and plant stuff right into the ground. So besides that, I definitely would recommend making a list or making some kind of map on what you want to plant, making a little guide. You can even draw it out on your garden, the dimensions if needed. I do container gardening, so I don't really have a flower bed, but I still made a map of what I wanted to plant this year, and it made me feel more organized. So when I go out and get my seeds, I'm not just like, oh my gosh, there's 1,000 seeds, I want to plant them all, because that's not very attainable for container gardening. But I have already planned some of my things, and I recommend to start working on it. Start planning what kind of garden you want to achieve, what kind of plants you want to achieve, the things you would like to do with them. I know a lot of people do canning, and that's definitely a goal for a lot of people to have enough to eat off of and to live off of. So, I definitely recommend, the past few days it's been very nice outside, so getting out and looking over your garden, seeing what needs to be pruned, what needs to be done, seeing if there's any old stuff, things like that. So that's all I have for now, but I'm definitely ready to get planting soon, and I hope that everyone has a very good gardening season coming up.